socialize it in our minds as to how many buses, how many houses that you can pack that amount of money. But certainly it was ahistorical in the sense that it has never been achieved before. So it was a milestone that had a stretch target into it. Albeit the difficult economic conditions that the country is going through, we are part of the world economy, not that it was only in South Africa, but the fact that we were given a task and we lived to our expectations, worked very hard as a team, as a collective, thanks to the 15,000 men and women who worked beyond the call of duty, said, Commissioner, EXCO, we will be able to reach that number. It was tough, it was not easy. So we don't want to simplify it and say it was walk in the park. It meant, therefore, we needed to be innovative and create other measures for us to achieve that number. We believe we want also to thank the taxpayers in the first instance for being compliant, meeting their statutory duty, and not being followed and being, harassed and said, you have to. But there are cases wherein you need to use the carrot and the stick. But I must say, South African by nature are people who want to pay their taxes. And our mantra is that we should teach our children that paying taxes is cool, so that it doesn't become a problem later in life. That's still on the matter that you spoke about. The issue of having had difficulty in the entire life of vilification, stories written about one person, that the whole organization, number of people are leaving, you are, what is it called? Purging, people are being told to leave. Completely untrue. Like any other organization you may have joined or any organization that have left, there were people who on their own volition have decided to leave, personal or otherwise. In this instance, I'm on record, none of the people who left this organization were forced to leave. They left because they felt it is time to leave. Either they felt this is not the leader they would like to be associated with, or there were greener pastures. And as such, the media took its own version that there was what you call purging. None. I'm saying there was none. We can go into individuals, there was nothing of that sort. And therefore it casts aspersion. It puts you on what you call a different agenda. I, as the Commissioner of SARS, must maintain a high level of professionalism, respect for the individual, respect for the employee, and give them space to be able to operate and deliver the results that we speak about today.
Part of that narrative seems to be a suggestion that you are some kind of lackey of President Jacob Zuma, that you have been put into this position for explicitly political reasons, and that, of course, therefore casts aspersions on both your integrity and your competence. How do you react to that?
Well, I think the numbers speak the truth. I, as a simple young man, gone to school, being taught 1 + 1 is 2, and the whole world believes in that philosophy, then I see no reason as to where the lackey aspect attachment comes into being. Because if one has to subscribe to that philosophy, then one would not have been able to look into the issues that we're dealing with. What I'm seized with is dealing with simple economic issues, issues wherein we have to collect all revenue due. And I want to make it very clear here, I am not lackey to anybody. I'm a man of my own. I'm not owned by anyone. And therefore, when I deal with my colleagues, both in EXCO and the lowest level in the organization, I deal with them with respect. And I do things within the parameters of the law. So it doesn't arise, because if you are going to deal with issues that are political, SARS is apolitical. And those who work in that organization must uphold the mandate for which they've been recruited and employed for, and deal with the matters that assist with them. So it will be a diversion. The issues that you are raising with me are political issues. And SARS is not dealing with political matters. We're dealing with tax matters, which is an internationally recognized position that needs to be done. So we're speaking today about the numbers that we have delivered. And if there's interference, there will be interference that will always distract people from the core business of their mandate.
When you took this position, was there any clear goal that you had or a vision for what you wanted to achieve during your tenure here?
Yes. Like any other leader, I have a vision and an ambition. It's only dead people who have no dreams. And my dream is to leave a SARS that is professionalized, not that it isn't. I'm happy that I have joined SARS and found that there's been leaders before me who have made changes that I appreciate, but at the same time, there are things that I think we could do much better. If we took at any other leader in the world who have made a difference in the organization that they've left a legacy. And I would like to leave a legacy that says people are the epicenter of change. Technology is supportive. If we don't make our people feel that they are seen as important, given the space to grow, given the opportunity to amplify their scope of knowledge, support it with technology that we have, that which we wish to happen in this organization will not happen. Because technology on its own cannot deliver. It is the people who deliver. The manner in which we treat and be able to provide space to our employees epitomizes that which gives an organization ability to grow. You can look at Microsoft. It's not the leader. It's the vision of the leader together with the people below who are given the space to look at other avenues of innovation for them to be able to do what is right. I believe when I joined and given this responsibility, I was in awe, but I felt that it can be done because I believe in the art of the possible, that there's nothing that cannot be done unless you apply your mind to it.
You suggested during your address that your decision to restructure SARS was a key part of why you were able to go over that mark of 1 trillion rand. We also know from media reports again that was a apparent source of some tension between yourself and the Finance Minister. He expressed unhappiness over it. You were quite silent about that particular issue at that time. Do you believe that he's come to a place where he's accepted what you did, or has it come to a place where it's that matter and that source of tension has been resolved? And do you have any regrets about your decision to go about that restructuring, given the kind of tensions it created?
The press conferences epitomizes that which is positive. We sat and spoke about the organization that has done very well. If there were contradictions, I think we would not have had this meeting. And therefore, like any other organization, there may be difference of opinion on one or smaller thing. But it is in the manner in which it is being reported. But certainly from my perspective, the decision that I took when I was made to this organization in consultation with the previous minister, it was socialized across. It is not a reckless decision that we took. It's a decision that if we had not taken, I still repeat, would not be speaking about the numbers, the great numbers that we speak about, the numbers that is a good story to talk about. If South Africans speak about a good story, this is what is called the best story to talk about, albeit the difficult economic conditions that we have. I would not like to delve into issues of personality, but mine is to delve on the issues that grow the organization and make us proud of being a country that is able to deal with the issues that confront us and we find solutions.
I know, just focusing on the good story to tell, but at the same time, obviously, you know that the narrative around you is profoundly quite negative, often in many quarters. We know now that you've decided to take legal action, particularly against the Mail and Guardian, about their reporting about, I think, the purging issue, and that you were creating people within SARS to achieve certain political ends. What made you decide, after all the other news reports, that you were actually going to take legal action at this point?
Because silence, in keeping quiet in some of these things, creates, like Goebbels, the strategies in the times of Nazism, a continuous harping on the same story as a lie ends up being the truth in the minds of the people who read the story. I am saying to you today, none of the officials who left were as a result of what the stories were saying. And if the press, which I respect, and I've always had a discussion with you, had an opportunity to go deeper into this matter, the narrative would not have gone the way that it has gone. But certainly, dealing with the substantive matters of this issue, I have taken a decision that I am going to do a transformation of this organization to lead it to a different trajectory based on informed imperatives that SARS must be able to operate within the mandate for which it has been established, which is a single mandate: effective and efficient collection of revenue. What it means, therefore, you need to have men and women who are dedicated, working beyond the call of duty. You'll be able to listen as a leader to the ideas. It should not be your own opinion that transcends everything, but be able to have leadership that is able, at any given material time, to understand that there is a change that needs to take place in any organization. So those are the things that have driven me and spurred me to work towards this. And I can say with confidence, without any contradiction in my mind, that I'm proud that the support that I got, both in the leadership of this organization, within the labor movement, within Parliament, within the board, and the ministry itself, that the decision and the vision that I had, that we continue to espouse, is correct. Hence the results that we have delivered.
Do you believe you can work with the Minister of Finance?
I've worked with different ministers with different temperament, different behavior, and work of style. So I see no reason that I can't work with any other minister. Minister Gordhan is no exception. So I think it's the narrative that is there. Mine is to concentrate and put my head down and deal with the matters that I don't have the tons of ink. You say I took Mail and Guardian to court precisely because they were not telling the truth. And in the situation of where untruths are told, it is my duty to defend my integrity.
You know, a huge part of the genesis of that particular narrative is the so-called so-called Sars rogue unit. We know that there's, the Hawks are part of investigating that matter. It's now part of a separate body. We know that you were the person who raised concerns about the potential legality of that unit and what it was doing.
No, I did not raise the legality. Perhaps let's step back.
Yeah.
I joined SARS in September 2014. Before I came, this matter was in the news.
Yeah.
And before I joined, there was an investigation. So the Tom Moyane narrative does not hold. And therefore, to perpetuate the narrative that I am the cause of this really does not augur very well, because it persuades a narrative which feeds into the political issues that you have raised. Because if people then are having an amnesia for purposes of their own political agenda, I think Tom Moyane, when you deal with economics and equations, should not form part of that. So there was an investigation before. So it is important that if we can leave this matter and freeze it in time, then we'll be able to see the reality. And it is my request, humbly so, that the media and media houses should be able to look at history as to the genesis of this matter. I happen to be an accident of history, because 5 days into my job, there was an article. So how do I become the cause of what you're talking about?
So
historically.
So I mean, you're saying that history will show that you were not involved in this so-called rogue unit investigation?
None at all. There was what you call the Sekakane. It was not me. I think it's important that we sit on this matter. The Sekakane report is the one that came up in the news and said, this is what I did not commission it. Not at all. But I'm saying rewind back months before I came, while I had left correctional services. This matter was running its own course in the news. So it is important.
Why do you think you've been so strongly associated with
Well, I don't know, but I would like to wish one day that somebody would tell me, those who have tons of ink, to be able to tell me why I'm drawn into this. But I hope and trust that in the frank discussion that we're having, we'll be able to tell the real story. And that real story is that Tom Moyane joined SARS in order to create an environment to collect all revenue. That's the task of the Commissioner, to restructure, to create that traction, to make the taxpayers to feel comfortable that the organization to which they're putting their taxes is in good hands. We've demonstrated that. Perhaps to rewind, This is the second year. When I joined SARS, the target was set at 979 billion. I brought 986 billion. That story is not going given prominence. Why? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that we galvanized men and women as leadership and said, we have a task before us. The target was set, and the target needs to be met. We met and surpassed the target. Instead of us concentrating on the positive things, the good stories of of men and women in that organization, we're drawn into this issue which is not nation building.
But in light of what you've just said and the fact that you did exceed your targets, what did you make of former Finance Minister Trevor Manuel saying that if he was Finance Minister, he'd use 20 seconds to fire you?
I can't comment. He may. I think he's well positioned to make that comment. And I am not involved in political discussion of that nature, but at the same time, firing somebody like I do as the Commissioner, I have a right to fire. I have a right to appoint and disappoint. But before you do that, you apply your mind as to the merits of doing that. Perhaps he may give insights as to why he thought that could be done.
Was that hurtful to you? I mean, how did you react to it personally?
Hurt? I was amazed. He was a minister, and he knows the laws. That's as simple as all that.
You know, going forward, what is your hope in terms of the resolution of this whole rogue unit saga and this perpetual narrative that somehow you are some dark agent inveigled in this position essentially to go after Pravin Gordhan to enable a situation where he's charged? How are you hoping that situation, that narrative will change? Because that seems to be how you're being regarded.
The narrative is simple. You are interviewing me, you have the real story. Judgment must be made based on you interviewing me and discussing this matter. And it's not for me to talk about something that is investigated by another arm of state. And therefore, my duty is to deal with what is before me. SARS is not in the investigative matter. SARS, when it does its work with respect to financial matters, revenue matters, any other thing outside that is not in the purview of the Commissioner. And I, as the Commissioner, I've maintained that particular position, that I'll deal with the issues that are within my parameters of the law, like what we have done today, deliver a good story, the best story that this country can ever have wished for. So it is in the manner in which you'll be able to narrate and be able to extricate and simplify the story so that every South African, young and old, educated and uneducated, should be able to get the truth and the truth only.
So then finally, I'll end with the question to explicitly ask you this.
Yes.
Are you part of a plot to unseat the Finance Minister through criminal charges?
Why? Let me ask that rhetorical question. Why? I'm asking you. I was appointed to become the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Service, whose mandate is collection of revenue.
And that is not a political...
It's a simple. You are interviewing me. You are a journalist. And yours is to get information as required within the confines. Mine is to collect revenue.
Not to settle political scores.
No, I'm not a politician. And that's why I made it very clear that I'm not a minister. I'm the Commissioner. And if we define the scope and the roles of the responsibility of the Commissioner, which I hope and trust you'll be able to look and Google, are very clear. I'm the accounting authority. I'm the accounting authority. I'm also the executive authority. So I need to be able to deal with the matters that are before me, to deal with the task and the mandate that have been given to me by the Act. So I hope that question does not even arise. And that question should not even be part of the discussion and the interview.
But I have to ask you because, you know,
I hope and trust in the manner that is being portrayed. It portrays the reality and the frankness of the discussion that we're holding today here.
And I very much appreciate you, Commissioner Moyane, answering what are actually quite tough questions and being as frank as you have been. Thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.